community. And those priorities can change. But in terms of merit scholarships, they, as I mentioned, vary widely between colleges and universities. Some could be purely based on academics. That said, that doesn't mean that merit scholarships are only for students with top GPAs, and you're not going to get a merit scholarship if you don't have the best grades and the top scores. Many colleges and universities have a range of scholarships for a range of students and GPAs. Some merit scholarships could be based more on talent. It could be for very talented musicians, theater students, performing artists. It could be students who are highly talented in debate and Model UN, or maybe they recognize departmental scholarships. We're looking for outstanding physicists or engineers. So they might be geared more towards academics in terms of academic interests and departments. Then there's the category of athletic scholarships, and that is kind of a different category altogether, because you may or may not know that there are different kind of categories of athletic competition: Division I, Division II, Division III. And athletic scholarships cannot be given by Division III colleges and universities. So don't assume that you can get an athletic scholarship from institutions that offer merit awards. Merit scholarships do usually require you to be admitted first. Now, this goes kind of in contrast to need-based financial aid, where you have to submit the financial aid application before you get admitted. You're strongly encouraged to do that. But merit scholarships, you've got to apply and be admitted first. And then the admissions committees may be automatically considering you for merit awards, or there could be an additional competition. And the competition could simply be an interview, an essay, or something that college is deciding to require. It is interesting to note, when you do get your merit award, to read the fine print. Is your scholarship guaranteed all 4 years? Do you have to earn a certain GPA each year, certain grade point average, so that it might be renewed? Some colleges will simply award you that scholarship each year, all 4 years. That's what we do at Ohio Wesleyan. But I have worked at institutions that say, in order to keep this scholarship, you must earn a certain GPA in order to keep it or maintain it. I guess we'll go on to the next slide, if there is one on merit. You will have to do your research on every college and university, and it's really going to help to create a spreadsheet and keep things, neat and tidy about if there are separate deadlines, if the consideration is automatic, or if you have to do a separate application. And there may even be a combination of the two at colleges and universities. At Ohio Wesleyan, it is automatic for our main international merit award, but we do have separate applications for the art, the leadership, the community service. So you'll want to take a deep dive and spend your time creating the spreadsheets and finding out if there are additional deadlines and things required to submit. Like I mentioned, maybe an essay, a resume, another form, an interview, or recommendation. Some universities may require standardized testing for specific scholarships, especially maybe if they're STEM related. They may want to see that math score. You might want to see if an interview is required, and is that an interview with the scholarship committee, or maybe it could be satisfied with, say, an initial view interview. But you'll want to reach out to your admission officer and find out if that is required and what that how you might satisfy that requirement. Then, I think that your portal is a really helpful place to check, and many students might just log into the portal once, see if anything is missing from their application, and never check that portal again. But you might be surprised to know that You may find additional scholarships to apply for through those admissions portals. So definitely keep checking your admission portals that each college is going to send you login information, because some scholarships may be by nomination or invitation only. Um, don't assume that a late application will be considered, but then again, don't assume that you have to apply early decision to lock in the one and only opportunity to get a merit award, because it really varies from institution to institution. And then if a recommendation is required, make sure your recommender knows what the letter is for, that it's not just for applying to a university, but specifically for a merit award. And if it's for a certain talent or academic department, it would be great if they could mention some specific anecdotes related to that. And also, if the recommendation is required, do you or does the recommender need to mention specific skills, specific qualities, or specific qualifications that kind of match that merit award? All right.
All right. Thank you so much, Kristen. So I'm just going to jump in and discuss the varying price points between universities. I generalize this between public versus private universities. So I know Rutgers is a public school, meaning we are partly funded by the state government. So we receive a lot of money from the New Jersey state government, in addition to like costs from tuition and our endowments. So public schools usually have a lower tuition cost because we are funded through the state, and international students will usually pay the out-of-state rate. So we have in-state tuition. If you are someone that lives in New Jersey, for example, your tuition might be around $15,000, but for an out-of-state or international student, it might be around $39,000, as you see in the picture below. Um, so, because we are partly funded by the government, we are not able to give a lot of scholarships out to students. So, at Rutgers, we only offer one merit-based scholarship, and that can only go up to about $16,000 per year, 1/6. And you wouldn't be eligible for any state aid or needs-based aid like Victor was talking about earlier. It would only be that merit-based aid. So if you're looking at the sticker price and this little picture that I have on the chart below, you'll see the total is about 62,875,000 per year. A $16,000 scholarship might not be that push that you need to help support you go to like a public university. On the flip side, we have private universities, which are typically funded through tuition, donations, and endowments. A lot of the times they have very strong alumni groups that do support their schools a lot after they graduate. And because they are not like partially state funded as public universities, they're usually a bit more expensive. So on the bottom of the public private universities chart here, I took a screenshot of the cost of attendance of a private university, I think in the Midwest. I don't remember which school it was. But the total for tuition, everything that you're going to need is about 96 or $97,000. So almost $30,000 more expensive than a public university in general. However, just because it's more expensive doesn't mean that you can't get a bigger scholarship because they have a lot more funding, or that you couldn't apply for needs-based aid and on top of the merit-based aid. So it is possible that after stacking aid that you receive from a private university, it could be even cheaper than going to a public school. So looking at those sticker prices shouldn't necessarily knock out schools that you're considering to apply to, or, intimidate you out of applying to them, because you might receive more aid at a private school than a public school. I think it's great to really vary your application pool, have a few different options, because each school is going to have an individualized package for financial aid or scholarships for you. All right, that's all I have. You can go on, Gloria.
All right. Well, there are some myths that we'd like to debunk because I think there is a lot of misinformation that floats around whether it just sort of comes from people's minds or social media or word of mouth. So we'd like to poke some holes in these myths. And the first is the myth of the full ride scholarship. I get emails daily from students asking to apply for full ride scholarships. And I think the reality, unfortunately, is that very few full ride scholarships exist. When we admission officers think of full ride scholarships, I think we're thinking of the entire thing, full tuition, housing, meal plan. And meals and housing are real costs that the university must bear. And so many of us do not have the investments and endowments and tuition money coming in to be able to fully fund students. We'd love to be able to do that, but we don't have the financial resources to be able to do so. Another myth is the myth of the sports scholarship. And while there are some sports scholarships, maybe even some full ride sports scholarships that could be available to international students, the reality is that you have to be a top tier athlete, either with a state, a national, or international ranking, because, as I mentioned earlier, institutions that can offer sports scholarships are usually Division I or Division II, and those athletes compete at such a high level that coaches are starting to recruit the students even before their last year of high school, and they're really looking for athletes with that top ranking. And then I think that another myth is that assuming that all colleges give merit scholarships. And it's really mostly highly selective universities that do not award merit scholarships because they get so many applications that they don't necessarily need to use a merit award as a way to attract more applicants, but highly selective institutions may be able to meet full financial needs. So that could be a positive upside. And Victor had a couple other myths to address.
Yeah, thanks, Kristen. I'll go quick here because I've already alluded to these. One myth that we hear is that I should get through the admission process and get admitted before I apply for specifically for need-based financial aid. And I hope that we've drilled that in that that is not a good approach. It doesn't give the transparency that institutions' financial aid offices need to make financial aid decisions alongside admission decisions. So don't wait. Apply by the stated deadlines for need-based financial aid. Lastly, there is a myth out there that there's no financial aid for international citizens. I think it's worth correcting that, yes, there might be more limited financial aid. The way that you apply for it might be different. But there is financial aid available for non-US citizens at all of our institutions, and we definitely want students to approach the application process with an understanding that there is financial support and that you need to kind of go through certain application processes to make sure that it's something that you can secure.
Wonderful. This is a lot of information. So, um, and it's a lot to digest, I know. Um, and we have like 8 minutes left. So I want to make sure if anyone else has questions, make sure you've asked them. Um, let's, Julissa talked a little bit about kind of the lower sticker price. For you specifically, Julissa, like, is the 16,000 merit-based scholarship, is that available for international students as well?
Yes, so that's the only financial aid that we'll offer to international students is that merit-based scholarship. But keep in mind, only the top 10% of applicants are eligible to receive it. So outside of that, we're not really in general giving any scholarships or financial aid to international students.
Got it. And this is a question for everybody. For those like costs, like on your website, those cost tables, do they usually include things like insurance, health insurance, and things like that? Yes, for all of you? Okay, awesome. Um,
One thing before we take questions, I just wanted to share in terms of resources. Sorry, I was off camera. I've been like searching for this resource that I cannot find, but I know it exists. So any counselors on the call, there's no need to share it, but I do want to give a quick plug for International ACAC as a professional organization for any counselors on the call. If you are not a member, think about potentially pursuing that. And if you are, make sure that you're utilizing all the resources available to you. And for students and parents on the call, make sure that you're talking to your counselor, your CBO counselor, or your school counselor about some of those resources and asking those questions of your counselor as well. But there is a kind of crowdsourced list of, it's a beautiful Excel spreadsheet and it has a lot of US universities on it and it details kind of different aid policies, but it also details specific scholarships or specific universities that might offer in-state tuition to international students from certain countries, those kinds of things. So that is a resource that's available. If you have never seen it and you're a counselor, go look for it through the International ACAC. I believe it's on some of those listservs and Facebook pages. And then also, if you're a student or counselor or a student or parent, it's a good thing to talk to your counselors about. And then the other thing is just to like literally search up affordable US universities for international students. There are a number of kind of reputable college search platforms that will help recommend basically US universities that on face value are less expensive than others. Again, maybe taking away the need for scholarship and financial aid to begin with. So lots of different resources out there to help navigate what is incredibly complicated and incredibly confounding of a process.
Thank you for bringing that up. And Kristen also put in the chat that there is like a special international AC has a form for international students as well that some schools are using um, instead of what are they using it
Instead of profile, CSS
instead of
profile.
CSS profile. That's right.
It's International Student Financial Aid application.
That's right. Yeah. Great. Well, and if we find that resource, we will email it to all the registrants so that they have it as well. Great. Well, we only have a little bit of time left. So if you still have a burning question, you can ask it. I was going to ask each of you to maybe give like a parting word of encouragement, because I know like the people on this call definitely, like as we saw in those first chats, like, you know, it's a stressful, it's a stressful thing to be thinking about the costs of college. So any kind of last words of support?
I can just say, like I said, try to have a variety in your application pool. The right thing is out there, so I know it's painful, confusing, misunderstood, all of the above, but I also think like something really wonderful can come out of it. So just hang in there.
I would say don't be afraid to reach out to the international admission officers because this process can be so confusing or murky. Just reach out and ask us questions and but start by finding information on our websites first. That should be your first thing that you do. And it can take a lot of time and a lot of research, but hopefully the payoff in the end is worth it with an affordable award or financial aid offer.
I think a fundamental misconception that students have is that, well, I'll frame it this way. You are a lot more interesting than you think you are. And you have a story to tell, and that's what the application process is for us. And I hope that you kind of are affirmed by that and know that you can bring a valuable perspective and set of experiences to any college campus in the United States or elsewhere.
And I would just echo some of what all of my fellow panelists have said, but I would just really echo the idea that the best way to ensure that you have options is to expand your list, right? The schools that often offer the most need-based financial aid, again, often can be the most selective, and that process is even heightened for international students because it's so competitive. But there are so many different ways, different avenues to affordability and accessible education in the United States. And as Kristen mentioned earlier, there are thousands, literally thousands of wonderful educational opportunities, higher education opportunities in the US. And we are excited to welcome international students to our universities and to the US in general. We international educators are really, really excited for that. We know that it's currently a tough time in geopolitics, in the global landscape, but we are still really, really excited to welcome you to our campuses. You make our campuses better places. And so it's just really important that you expand your list beyond maybe the 5, right? Or the 20, the top 20, whatever that means to you. Expand your list to expand your opportunities.
Wonderful. Well, thank you everyone for spending time with us this evening. For most of you, maybe afternoon or morning. This was great. And we hope to see you again soon for another Tuesday Talk. We don't have one lined up for the next few weeks. People are getting ready for summer vacation. So enjoy your summer. Do things that are meaningful to you. Don't be anxious about adding to your resume. Just do things that are meaningful to you. Spend a little bit of time doing research, like we said, but hopefully that you are able to rest and be rejuvenated for the upcoming school year. Thank you so much again. Have a great night.